This was posted on October 22nd, 2019 by Robinson Mayer, and I actually talked about this a couple of times. It's the Permian extinction. I have a couple of videos I did some time back. This is just... Hey, what's up everybody, it's Carmen. So check this out, Permian extinction. So as you can see, I was talking about a geological event. Just in this video alone, it's a 47-minute long video. I'm not going to play it. And then we have an additional one, in fact. This was September 25th. That one would have been... The first one I did with the Permian Basin was actually in 2018, I believe, or maybe at the beginning of the year. Really, I'm not 100% sure. And
so I'm going to pause this because it has 2 views, and it was 5 years ago. 5 years ago, and it got 2 views. That's it. And so you can see here, it's like an 18-minute video, but the reason why I'm here is on my YouTube. So I have 5 videos in the drafts, and I believe I already took a screenshot of it. A few, like the Emperor and the Empty Tomb video, and they even took that freaking page down. Huh. Yes. They took that page down. It no longer exists. But anyways, so somebody knew that I knew it had gotten out. It's a big deal because, it's that much intel. But 2 views and this. So let's listen to as much as we possibly can.
The pipeline the Permian Basin has been waiting for is finally finished. When the Yankee Sacks telegraphs were going out, this is what they were referring to. It was, they had already gotten everything put in place so that they can do exactly what we're getting ready to read about right now. It's a 9-minute read. This is Welcome to the Black Triangle. Got the dinosaur face, letting you know this is actually what's going to be coming out of it. And I think they believe that these are their friends. But what day is this posted on? I'm not sure why I can't find a date here. Jonathan Blair, 9-minute read. Not really sure why I can't find a date here on this one. But it talks about the Black Triangle, and this Black Triangle is actually spoken about in something different. It is so much material. I have gotten to the point where I'm kind of confused at times. Where I'm like, I don't know where to begin, guys. I could do this all day long. And there's thousands of telegraphs happening at one time. It's mind-blowing, shattering information. I'll leave links this below, but this was, noted, and then again, it's noted not even, a week or so ago. The worst day in the history of life on Earth so far happened almost 66 million years ago when the asteroid roughly the size of Manhattan slammed into the Yucatan Peninsula. You may know the story. The asteroid, which arrived probably in June or July, immediately drilled a 20-mile hole into the planet's surface, vaporizing the bedrock and spewing it halfway to the moon. The planet shuddered with magnitude 12 earthquakes, losing tsunamis across the Gulf of Mexico. Some of the ejected debris condensed in orbit and plunged back to Earth as searing spheres of molten glass, which torched the land and turned forests into firestorms. Other debris remained high in space, where it blocked the sun's rays and began to chill the surface of the planet. By the time it was over, about 75% of all species on Earth had died, including all non-avian dinosaurs. The event, which ended the Cretaceous period and began the Tertiary period, is named the KT extinction. Since 1980, when the KT impact hypothesis was first proposed, the day the dinosaurs died has attained almost mythic significance. But questions remain about the theory. None of the Earth's other big mass extinctions were caused by an asteroid impact. Why did this one end the 180 million year reign of the dinosaurs? Guys, we can go with the 75. The conception boat fire was 75 feet long, okay? The number 21 was found in the above top secret conspiracy forum. We see this 20 consistently all over the place. Even if we have the 20 and the 12, it's 32. And the EM number is 0113229969969. Surely if you got in here and you started doing the math, you find, wait a minute, the 18 has been significant. All you have to do is go to ciphertalktext.blogspot.com. You will find that these telegraphs are on there. And all these numbers that I'm mentioning, they're listed in these telegraphs. Of course, I could sit and break down one telegraph. We did this the other day. It took like 35 minutes. But guys, it's too much work for, to show one little thing. And to say, hey, look, this is a telegraph. And right now, I said, well, I didn't want to date, right? And then I went, you know what? If I'm onto this, why wouldn't I want to know the day that they had planned on nuking us? So I prayed on it.
And I've repented, just so you know. That is one reason why, because I had to come out and tell another, and I go, if a person just sees this video alone right here, I'm going to have said something that wasn't right. I should have, my mouth is unruly, and sometimes I say things like when I go, I want to know the date, no man's going to know the day or the hour in which we go home, and I truly believe that's when we're going. But it was still an exciting track, I guess you could say, and it was mind-blowing to me. It brings me to tears right now to really think about the magnitude of intel and just the people that would be involved in this. They're worth multi-million dollars. The people that would have an interest in wanting to keep this secret would be very wealthy, okay? Very, very, very wealthy, very powerful people, okay? So these videos are very, all of this was, it really meant a lot to me. It was very astounding and all kinds of different things. But so I had to repent about this one, and I just want to apologize now for my former self operating in my ignorance.
And I have more gumption and more fire to find it than I have before. So,
let's
fictitious stories, and then they make them applicable in all these different areas, and they present it to the public. And because
as
the
if it's
public
history.
is, brainwashed by all this different media and utilizing all of these technological devices, they forget. Their memories have been wiped clean. All they have is a bunch of useless rhetoric that means absolutely nothing and keeps them off from understanding the truth of all things. This is exactly. Let me just finish reading this for you guys. A newspaper published this week in the Proceedings of the National Academy of Sciences offers a possible answer. The impact changed the chemical content of the ocean, rendering seawater more acidic and inhospitable to the tiny plankton that form the base of the marine food chain. Combined with the other effects of the asteroid, darkened skies, and a snab of global cooling, this ecologic disruption doomed much of life on Earth. The finding may be satisfying for asteroid friends, but it is an ominous one. Ocean acidification, a hallmark of the planet's previous mass extinctions, is happening again today. How does an asteroid prompt an extinction? I want you guys, it's so mind-blowing to see this, because if you've been listening to me, you've been watching me, I said they're going to be shooting missiles out of the satellites, and they're going to be saying they're asteroids. And then here we are with this title of "The worst day in Earth's history contains an ominous warning."
And now we got all these sightings of UFOs, and that's what it showed, that there was going to be all these sightings You know, the power of the people behind wanting to keep this secret is powerful. I can't even stress how much power these people have. You know, when I talk about planes flying over and someone goes, oh, that's not possible, it's like, well, tell me you don't know something without telling me you don't know something, you know? So, anyway.
It chooses the right location. The Yucatan Peninsula was an excellent one, says Pincelli Hall, an author of the paper and a geology professor at Yale. Soon it began to fall back down, now as nitric oxide and sulfuric acid. It was raining brimstone and acid from the sky, Hall said. The air would have reeked of acrid smog and burnt.
And bam! That puts you in the mind of a volcanic explosion. Big ones. And look at what people are reporting. You got JWTV right now talking about the earth cracking open and this and that, which thank God people are talking about it. Yes, and y'all are listening. Yes. Yes. For real. Because this is some real shit happening. Like when they was talking about, there was the one guy, Redneck Lawn, who shared on TikTok, and then some people showed up. I read a comment where they said, oh, the men in black showed up to the dude's house and he got scared and he took the videos down. And sure enough, all of those videos that I had saw, someone sent me one, and I went through the whole page, and I was like, oh my gosh, and I downloaded a few, so I have a few of them myself on a couple of drives. And this is happening. Like, when the crack opened near Wyoming, the Teton Pass had also crumbled too. Look, there are sinkholes opening up. What happened to the 64-year-old lady who fell into a sinkhole in a mine in freaking Pennsylvania? You know, this also is happening in places like Japan. All right? Like, this is not a joke. This is a real alert. Type thing. Like, if you only knew, if you knew you knew, you'd know, you know? Because you know.
Matches. The acid accumulated in the oceans, wearing away the shells of the small, delicate plankton that serve as the basis of the marine food chain. Within a few centuries of the impact, ocean acidity had jumped by at least 0.3 pH units. This spike in the ocean acidification may have lasted for less than 1,000 years, but even that pulse was long enough to kill off entire ecosystems for sure, Hall said. Ocean acidification also likely worsened other sweeping environmental changes wrought by the impact, such as the years-long darkness caused by orbiting debris and ash from the global wildfires. With this new finding, it now appears that all three of the worst mass extinctions in Earth's history feature huge spasms of ocean acidification. They include the KT extinction, the end Triassic extinction, when volcanoes in New Jersey killed 75% of all species, and the dread end Permian.
And now we're hearing that they just found like some new geological thing under Jersey, which that wasn't around before. And there's been a lot of East Coast earthquakes popping off. You know, you got the New Madrid popping off. You got the Cascadia and the Juan de Fuca. I mean, they're running around that chain. And we've had Turkey get hit. Japan's been hit. There's been a few major earthquakes in the last few years. And California was on that plate. California was on that map. Back in the day, and I remember telling this a long time ago, but back in the day, I knew this guy, he actually worked for this company where he's waving signs that tried to set me up. He was an old Scientology dude. But the Lord showed me. That's when I saw that military guy that was supposed to have been gone. He supposedly unalived himself and other people. No, I met that guy on a Friday and on a Saturday. Okay, and I know I'm making people mad talking about this stuff, but I am not going to get silent. Look, the thing, you know what's funny to me? It's almost like you're going to need me. You know what I mean? Like, it's like you're gonna need me. You know? That's what it's like. Because for real, that's the way he's looking. You know, like, y'all gonna need me. Yeah. But may the Lord God be with you. Because first, y'all need to repent, number one. But two, you know, yeah, I might be making you mad and everything. But the reality is now the signs are showing. They're here. This is a 5-year-old video that they did not want me to get up. It's sitting in the drafts of my folder here. In the drafts.
An event of the worst extinction in the history of the planet, which killed roughly 85% of all species and nearly sterilized the oceans. Scientists call that event the Great Dying. And that pattern is worrying, because the oceans are acidifying again today. Carbon dioxide, the same air pollutant that causes global warming, also dissolves in the oceans and increases the acidity of seawater. Since the late 1980s, the planet's oceans have become about 0.2 pH units more acidic every decade, according to a report last month from the Intergovernmental Panel on Climate Change. More than a fifth of all modern carbon pollution has already dissolved into the oceans, the report also found.
Most everybody who was ever involved with this nonsense around me, y'all had to know. First off. Secondly, and so I know a lot, you couldn't even look me in my face and tell me otherwise. You know, I'm like, Anyways, and then there's others that just thought they were keeping silent, and there were things that happened, but they just chose to keep their mouth shut and not say anything. Yeah, those two. Okay. Yeah, you may not have known 100%, but you know you should have said something when the stuff was going on, but you chose not to. Okay. And you still do. That's okay though. I don't need no man to back me up, or a female to back me up. I don't need family members or friends or, you know, anyone who's ever been a foe. You know, I don't need the personal opinions, right? We are all in the same boat. And if you're not seeing this 5 years old. It's 5 years old. And then if you don't know today's news, okay. Oh, I've been talking about sinkholes for, 5 years? I just lost my Telegram channel because I couldn't afford to pay for it. So I haven't been able to post. So, you know, there's that. But I, for the most part, was using Telegram to post all the sinkholes and geological changes that I could pick up. Because sharing it on other channels, I mean, heck, I get strikes for putting an air purifier on a map about the air quality index, you know? Because according to the community guideline, I'm linking unrelated products to a video that's not related to the product. Okay, anyways. That's just how bad the censorship is. So, hey, you know, because y'all really don't want me to talk. But if you're not paying attention to the news and you see this and then you see this was divine timing, like, I shit you not, I know it's divine timing because I'm going to erase this video. It's 18 minutes, 40 seconds. Okay, and I've been out here 20 minutes. All right, let me shut up.
Modern acidification is not yet at the same magnitude as the KT pulse. It's moving towards the scale, but it's not quite there yet, Paul said. What unites our world and the KT period, she said, is that a number of environmental catastrophic. It's dark. It's really cold after the impact, and the ocean has acidified. Chris Lowry, who's...
So it's about this book, or this thing.
It was a Herculean effort to get these measurements.
Oh, Herculean. Yes, that was the key word that put me onto that string. And it was a string of telegraphs. Because there was different strings of telegraphs going on. There was, you know, fires, organ harvesting, CT. There was different changes. There were people being unalive to top. There were signals that were being sent out. A lot of it had to do with signals. You know, a frequency, a certain frequency. So, yeah. Yeah, because frequency, it does a lot, especially in a closed electromagnetic system. This is the big secret, you know, like Satan's taken up residence in the human host body. Period. You know, you're an angel having a human experience. To anyone I ever said, "Why didn't say we were angels?" I didn't say that properly. I said that one time to a lady, sister, friend. I said, "Well, I never said we were angels." But in reality, I was wrong when I said it that way, because we are angels having a human experience. And so we're having a human experience. But, and that's why we needed bought back and redeemed, because we're not made in the perfect image of the Most High God, you know? To get made in the perfect image of the Most High God, you needed to be born again, adopted back into the kingdom. Anyways, so with all that being said, and to clear the air on that, if they're watching it all, we are the angels. But my mistake when I said no, we're not the angels, you were talking about fallen angels and about Lucifer, and I was like, no, I'm not talking about angels. You know, I'm not saying we're angels. Well, really what I was saying was, I don't want to go into details on why we're not that angel. And that was wrong. I prayed over it, asked the Lord that it be revealed to you, and that your hunger for that understanding would come out. Because the way I understand it, and I don't know everything, I'm not a teacher, but the way I understand it is, yeah, we're all from heaven. And we're having a human experience with a demon, you know? And that demon's trying to take you to the pits of hell with it. And you're in a battle for your freaking existence, you know. You're battling yourself. You know, you're like, I gotta stay alive through this, because your number one enemy is you. You know, when you sleep with the person who wants to get rid of you every night. I mean, come on. And it just drives people a little bit crazy sometimes. But that's where Jesus comes in. And he has become my sanity, my peace, my joy, my only hope. And so then when I got these directions, it was a verification of what was going on for me. And I prayed over that. I asked God nearly 10, 15 years ago. I was like, God, what is going on here? Like, I wasn't doing bad like this. What happened? Like, I everything. And I was for years. Like, none of this stuff went on until my 30s. It was like I had my 30s and things went crazy. And, but when God showed me, he showed me the condition of my heart and the error of my ways, you know, how much of my goodness, according to God, like, and you read the Word of God, I'm definitely going to hell, you know? And there's no possible way there's anything I could have ever done in a million freaking years, or could even do now, that would cause him to love me, you know? But Jesus still shows up and shows out, and it's been so supernatural, like, extremely supernatural. Ever since I was young, when I was 14, I met Satan at 4 times in the spirit. Then when I turned 23 and I got baptized, which was 9 years later, okay, from that meeting of Satan, it was 9 years later, and I freaking was dreaming about my meeting the Messiah. And it wasn't a dream. I had an out-of-body experience. Both of them confirmed the same exact way through a book that somebody else wrote that I don't even know who they are. So all of this is mind-destroying for me. And wow, this is really blowing my mind.
Said, there's just one place in the world where we think these fossils are preserved. Hannah is now a professor at the German Research Center for Geosciences. 2 years later, another study found the first geological evidence of global cooling, another proposed mechanism following the impact. Notably, the study's findings do not support the idea that enormous eruptions from volcanoes in modern-day India, called the Deccan Traps, prompted the surge in ocean acidification and resulting mass extinction. That hypothesis has a small number of ardent advocates, among them Gerda Keller, a geologist at Princeton, who was the subject of a profile in this magazine last year. No surprise. She got a little reward to come out and tell her lies, along with the rest of these lying folks. But this study pretty definitely shows that these eruptions had no effect on ocean chemistry, Lowry said. In an email, Keller disputed the paper's dating of the impact, arguing the asteroid actually struck Earth over 100,000 years prior to the extinction start. And these guys know this because...
Man, if Don hadn't showed me this, I would have never believed it. But it is true. It is true. I've uncovered many of the most criminal rings in the United States and the world. Like, literally.
Their science is that good? Hasn't anyone heard that scientists have been bought and
These
paid
are
for?
people that are
Well,
accredited that you
it's in
guys
the
would
fact
never
that-
think.
I mean, we can go back to, Camp Lejeune and the fact that they were poisoning the soldiers then. All the scientists thereafter lied about Monsanto, lied about the science,
Yep.
and then, let's go with the science with the NASA guys.
So
who
what's
are these
this?
great, scientists, right?
They're
These
kids.
great moonwalkers who supposedly exploded in the sky, but each and every one of them are actually really alive. It would just
Yep.
seem that these guys are just really, really good at lying and holding up that lie
Yep.
year after year after year.
Yep.
And little do they realize is that their lies, these little lies that in their minds, they're little
They're
lies.
not
Because
little.
all they're doing is faking the paper year, coming out for an article there.
Oh, I forgot I said
all that
this.
stuff.
Oh, yeah.
It's quite sad to see.
I'm gonna have to make sure I
Here
keep
we
this
are all
video.
this time later in Don Fung's mysterious directions. I said, the
Please,
book
Lord,
tells us
protect
they're
this
actually
video.
going to turn the gas around on the people. And so we're going to have, right now we see infrastructure is supposedly failing across the United States. And in reality, it's not just the United States. We have the Philippines. We have
Look at the bullseye in
Russia.
the
We
hat.
have Indonesia. We've got Peru, Mexico. I mean, you name it. They're on the map.
I've known this so
We have
long. It's been
sinkholes
a
opening up in
heavyweight.
Pennsylvania. There's just event after event after event taking place right now.
And it was
And
going
how
to
did they
get
make
worse.
this possible? Well, it's pretty easy. Because all they do is NEMA exploits the system. See, everything that's put in place supposedly to help the people has been exploited by the very people who instituted it. And God sees literally everything they're doing. And not only does he hate it, but he warns against it.
Yep.
And he says, come clean.
Yep.
Either you come clean of your dirty deeds or you will pay. He thinks that you're running and hiding in your hills is going to keep you away from this event. You're mistaken. You're just sadly mistaken. You went mad. That's what I'm trying to say. It's just like this. Biblical text tells us you're going to run and hide in the hills. You're going to say, rocks fall on me, rocks fall on me. And it's not going to happen. He's going to search you out. He's going to find you. Man, those men who are behind the deeds of this are sold out to Satan. They are Satan's minions. And if you have anything to do with this, and if you're not sharing this information and telling the people, you are a part of the problem.